Hello everyone and welcome to Rise Up Insurtech, hosted by the FinTech Times. My name's Tyler and I'm a journalist here at the FinTech Times, and today I'm joined by Avi from Previsico. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Are you enjoying the event?
Yeah, it's great. It's been a very busy week so far.
Yes, oh brilliant.
Yeah.
Lots of events on our end as well, so we can share in your mayhem.
Yeah.
I would just like to get you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Previsico, if you could.
Great. So I'm Avi. I'm the co-founder and chief operating officer of Previsico. We're a flood forecasting company that spun out of Loughborough University about 3.5 years ago. And we work with both corporates and insurers to mitigate flood impacts by providing real-time flood warnings for the sorts of events that tend to catch people off guard and cause a lot of damage. So in essence, helping people move stock to high ground, save contents, set up defences, etc.
Well, that's brilliant. It sounds like a very interesting company, and I'm very happy to be speaking with you today. So I think one of the major focus points of our event today is discussing how insurance has been influenced by technology, and especially how that's helping people to become insured and to get the protection that they need. My first question to you, Avi, is how have you seen innovative technologies transform the insurance space?
So I think you have a lot of technologies, the way I see it, in risk mitigation that might traditionally be separated from insurers, but insurers are seeing an increasing need to collaborate. So especially around things like cyber security, cyber training, around leak detection, around flooding, around all sorts of different hazards that people face. You have a total cost of risk that everyone has, or every business has, all the different things that you do from reducing risk to paying premiums, excess fees. There's so many key risks that you need to look after, and you can always kind of separate them all out, or actually insurers can work together with those technologies to provide a far more holistic solution.
That's really interesting, and actually it was an area that we had been looking at quite a lot in our event.
Yeah.
Sort of cross collaboration between different sectors in Insurtech. Of course, this sort of collaboration is ultimately to make the product more accessible and more personalized. Speaking of personalization, you know, in light of the pandemic, in light of the last 3 years, how have you seen Insurtechs respond for the consumer need for more personalization within their solutions?
I think there's been a lot of really good initiatives going on. So we've been working a lot, for example, with Liberty, who have an amazing risk reduce platform where they provide all sorts of different services to help their customers reduce risk. And different ones are really well used by different organizations, and we're now part of that kind of stack of solutions. So it's about kind of really listening to customers, seeing what their main problems are right now. Climate resilience is such a major challenge. So it's seeing how each organization is looking to improve their climate resilience. So when we talk about personalization, there's obviously the individual households, but then there's also the organizational ones where the products are being personalized to each organization too. So you're also on the commercial insurance side.
And do you see any specific technologies that are being utilized to answer those calls?
So I think the easy one, I guess to an extent, is firstly for an insurer to start, they'll already have a lot of information around their view of the risk and what can be done to mitigate it. And that's always been done on the commercial line space. So, risk engineers would always go to, large corporates and assess the risk and advise on what should be done to reduce it. And that's starting to filter down into the mid-market area. So there's and then even that, especially now also down to personal lines. I think also if you start looking at some of the branding, all of the top insurers, even on the personal lines, it's always about, well, we offer the cover, but look at what else we're doing to help you. And especially on the life and health side, there's all sorts of different things that each insurer does to try and help their customer, because they appreciate people want, all sorts of different kind of advice and support alongside just insurance.
Yes.
And insurers always, should be the expert, so have a lot they can help from their existing technology, but then there's also an acknowledgement that there's some technology that they just don't have access to. So this is when kind of the partnerships are really important.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree with everything that you've mentioned there in terms of how collaboration can be really beneficial to the personalization of Insurtech.
Yeah.
I think a lot with our event today is we've been looking specifically at where Insurtech has come from and where it is currently.
Yeah.
And I think for my final question for you, Avi, is we're going to be getting out our crystal balls to make some predictions. So what I want to ask you is, in the next 3 years, what predictions do you see within the industry?
I think what we're seeing is risks are changing, and technology to tackle those risks are evolving rapidly, exponentially. On climate, on cyber, on all of these different areas. And the key challenge will be, does the policy itself keep up with those risks? And in some cases it will, in some cases there's going to be major kind of gaps between what you realistically would want to insure and what you might actually just want to manage yourself. And this is where there's such an opportunity for those more partnerships to be developed and fostered. So for us personally, we work on flood forecasting, reducing flood risk. Now, so many flash floods are occurring, catching people off guard, and what insurers, with especially on all sorts of areas, is a deductible. Often floods might occur below the deductible level. While in the UK there's quite good insurance penetration for flood, in the US it's very low. So, and especially many other geographies, there's such a big opportunity to improve that cover. But where you can't prove that cover, it's actually also about them providing a service so that even if you don't have the cover, you've got something that you can do to reduce your risk, because ultimately that's why you're buying insurance. So I think we're going to see a lot more partnerships form where especially maybe the insurance on its own isn't always enough.
That's a very interesting answer, and especially when you were discussing the risks. I think for me, and this is a bit of a loaded question, I think I would really like to know, are there any risks that you have, you mentioned flooding.
Yeah.
Are there any specific risks? It might be flooding, and there might be some others.
Yeah.
Are there any specific risks that you've seen have become more prevalent within the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so with flooding, there's always kind of the coastal and river floods, but then flash floods are always, London had really severe flash floods last summer. Germany, France, across Europe, as well as the US, had really severe storms last year too. And they caught a lot of people off guard, caused huge damage and loss of life. And this is where new technologies, again, insurance on its own isn't enough. You need new technologies to help people and organizations be more resilient. And it's just addressing that wide question, which is why insurance exists to be there for people when they need it the most. And that's really where I think there's such an opportunity to start addressing some of those gaps.
Well, I think that's a very interesting answer, and thank goodness we're so high up, no floods up here, right?
Not today.
Not today, not yet. We'll just see like a tidal wave coming over eventually. But it's been really great to speak with you, Avi, today, and I really hope that you enjoyed the rest of our event.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.